You're listening to the Wise Women Invest podcast, a division of Noise Media Network, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney. Wise Women Invest is on a mission to help 1 million women learn how to make smart money moves by becoming savvy investors in real estate, the stock market, cryptocurrency, and early-stage businesses. Now your host, chief noisemaker, and wise woman herself, Audrey Bell Kearney.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here with you. Good afternoon, good evening, Carolyn.
Good evening. It's great to be here with you.
Same here. So Carolyn and I did we did one episode earlier this year, and I took a hiatus because I had a lot of stuff going on, but I'm happy to be back here. And I think it's the perfect time, Carolyn, because right now people are about to lose their mind because the holiday season is approaching us. And then in January, everybody will be looking like, oh my God, what did I do? So I thought it was a good time to relaunch Wise Women Invest because we want to make sure that all of you guys out there who are watching us understand what it means to be financial literate and how to make sure that your family is financially secure. So Carolyn is a financial advisor, and I will let her introduce herself to you, and we're going to get on with this episode.
Great. I am so excited to be a
give a
part
little
of
bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm so excited to be a part of Wise Women Invest. I've been in the financial services industry for over 30 years. It has been an incredible journey because when I look at where we are and where we could be, there's an adage that says when you know better, you do better. And so I've been helping women and men as well all over the financial spectrum, from having zero money to having millions of dollars. And it's been an incredible journey. There's so many things out there that we talk about, that we share. And today we're going to be talking about financial literacy. And that is something that I do and have been doing for over 30 years. Licensed and certified by all of the federal and state agencies with the ability to help you assess where you are and put a plan together to help you get to where you want to be. So it's been a great journey, Audrey.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad to know you, by the way. So Carolyn and I met about ago, 2018, through a good friend, Chris Cook, who passed away last year? It was last year, I think, right?
Last year.
Yeah. But Chris was a wonderful person, and he introduced me to Carolyn, and she and I have been connected ever since. And so she tried to whoop me into shape, and she's getting me there. I'm getting there. I too am a financial advisor, but a lot of people don't know it because I'm always talking about business and marketing, things like that. But I am licensed. I've been a licensed agent for a very long time. The first time I got my insurance license was 1999. So that was a long time ago.
Wow.
And that was the first time I got licensed. And I got to tell you, Carolyn, what made me even interested in financial literacy right out the gate was the fact that someone showed me the rule of 72. When they showed me the rule of 72, I was like, wait a minute. This is what are you saying about this now? And that piqued my interest. And I became that person who says, you know what, I need to do better. But then I kind of fell out because I was like, okay, I want to do something else because, as you know, when you try to tell people why they need life insurance, it's like, they don't quite understand, like, this is not just for you to be buried. It's a financial tool to replace your income for you and your family. So, I went through some changes right there, trying to explain it to people, and I still do. I'm not going to even say I don't. I still do. But what I can tell you that I'm passionate about is, stocks and mutual funds and bonds and understanding how those things work. And I remember the very first time I got introduced to the stock market, I was working at Prudential Insurance Company, and they had something called the minority interchange, and they sent us away for the weekend. And when they sent us away for the weekend, they were talking about financial literacy. And that was 97. Now, this was before I got my license. And I was like, okay, I need to know more about that financial literacy thing. And so that's when I started my entrepreneurial journey. And by the time 99 came around, an opportunity presented itself for me to get my license. And that's how I got into the financial industry. So I've been in there for a long time, just a long time. But, I am more serious about it now because I have a granddaughter now. And so, make sure that she's taken care of. And so I'm excited to be able to take the things that I know and put them in place for her, just like I did for her mom, who's my daughter. Women learn more about financial literacy too. So what are some of the first steps women need to think about when they even embark on this journey of becoming financially literate?
I'm really glad you asked that, because all of the things you just talked about, the stock, the cryptocurrency, all of that, we're going to get to as we move forward with Wise Women Invest. Well, one of the first things a wise woman needs to do is to commit to change. You know, a lot of times we've heard all kind of different stories about money, how you handle money. And some people have old things about, I'm not going to talk about money a lot, where you have to talk about it. And one of the things about being a financially literate person is to ask yourself, where am I? What are my attitudes about money? How do I feel about it? Am I in the place where I want to change my financial situation? We want to make sure that, number one, you commit to change, that whatever you find out, whatever you learn on this podcast through Wise Women Invest, that you will say to yourself, okay, I'm going to commit to change my attitude. And when you change your attitude, then you'll change your progress and you'll change your actions and how you operate with money. Step two is assess where you are. And I know that you were talking earlier about helping people get a financial assessment, and I want to hear more about that, but you want to assess where you are. How are you doing financially? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And when you find out what that is, Audrey, it's making the commitment to change that. And it's our opportunity to be very honest about it. A lot of times we may say, oh, I think this about money, but we're not really honest in whether or not we're looking at how to make it work and how to make sure that we're in the right place. And I'm going to tell you number three, and then we'll talk, is clearing out the financial clutter. What does that mean? Let me tell you this. I saw a lady earlier today. She had a whole bag and boxes full of bills. And I said, why do you have it in a bag and why do you have it in a box? She said, because I don't want to look at it. I don't want to face it. So part of the cleaning out the clutter and assessing is to look at it. It's not going to go away if you don't look at it. So it's clearing out that clutter. It's, because all of us may have things that we get anxious about. And you can be anxious, and that's another way to get yourself stressed and be anxious if you're not even looking at it. She had envelopes, Audrey, that she had not even opened. There were bills that she said, I don't want to talk about it, Carolyn. I said, well, one of the first paths to financial wellness is making sure that you look at what you have and clear out some of that financial clutter. And that helps you with your assessment. It helps you to look at where you are and help you put the plan together for your financial house.
Carolyn, it's so funny you say that. I literally look at mine like quarterly. I look at my finances quarterly, see what I'm not using, what I need to get rid of. And I literally canceled 3 memberships that came to over almost $200. It was $183 in just memberships that I don't use. And I was like, okay. But part of me didn't want to let them go because I felt like I was going to be missing out on something if I let them go. The crazy thing is that I hardly ever attended anything that they did. That's the crazy part. And so I said to myself, Audrey, you don't even participate in the membership. You're just paying money every month. And I really was. And when I looked at that, it was I think it was $183 in just memberships that I don't even participate in. So you're right. You have to look at that stuff, and you have to be willing to let some stuff go.
Exactly.
That was a big thing for me. Yes.
You are so right.
I looked at that and I said, now, because a lot of times we let things go. We want to hold on to everything. We have FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm gonna miss something, and that was me. Like I was like, okay, I love this guy, and I love this girl. I need to be a part of their community. However, I'm never in the community doing anything.
Exactly.
Just paying money. So, I think you're spot on about, the way you think about things and being willing to look at stuff and change things. So how do you help people get to that mindset? Because that's a mindset. And so, and we have so many things that are ingrained in who we are, especially when you're older. It's ingrained. You hear stuff like, oh, he's too old to change. He ain't going to change his ways now. How do you get people to make that shift to say, you know what, I really want to do this. I need to change. What are some of the first steps to getting to make that money mindset?
Where it starts with making that decision that when I know better, I'm going to do better. So one of the first things we talked about was committing to change and having the conversation. You know, there are a lot of times when it's really comes real clear when someone passes. You know, a person that I saw just yesterday, she has, when I tell you, paperwork and accounts from her husband from all over the place. She has no idea whether she's the beneficiary on them or not. And I said to her, okay, we're going to have to call these agencies. We're going to have to find out if you don't have his original paperwork. So you start with assessing where you are, committing to change, assessing where you are, and making sure that you know where everything is. And once you see that, Audrey, and you have the conversations, and sometimes it's a conversation with yourself. You know, sometimes your spouse isn't even involved. You know, for those women who are married, is you're making the decision to say, I'm going to change. I'm going to assess where I am, and I'm going to look for what can I do to make sure that I have all of my stuff in order and that I'm not just spending money because it's something that I want, but it's actually something that I need. And that's one of the keys in financial literacy is establishing the difference between a want and a need. And in a lot of cases, we already have what we want and we're spending that extra money. I mean, what we need, we're spending that extra money on things that we want.
You know, that's so funny you say that too, because I have I love Cherokee Jeeps. Like I've driven a Cherokee Jeep probably for the last probably 25 years. So I had a girth and I kept that one to my husband. Okay, you got to give this truck up. It's no good anymore. And I was like, no, I'm going to keep my truck. And it was paid for, Carolyn. So we just, and I was like, I'm not giving up my truck. It's paid for. I don't want a car note. This is Audrey, it's no good anymore. So I gave it up. I bought another one when I moved to Georgia because I like them. And so I have a black one now and it's almost paid for. I owe about $3,000 on it, right?
Awesome.
And so my daughter, who is a lot different from me in so many ways, she was like, you should get a Mercedes. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a Mercedes. And I was like, why am I getting a Mercedes? You know, like, why am I going to get a Mercedes? Because my truck is almost paid for. Then I'm going to get a Mercedes and I'm going to get another car note. And so I had to say to myself, why are you really getting a Mercedes? Because my daughter said so? Like, why? And I was like, I don't know about that one. So I had to think about that for a second because I was kind of thinking, yeah, I'm going to get, because she has one and my brother has one. And they are very nice cars. And so, and I could get one, but I'm telling you, is when I, for a hot second, I was like, I'm going to get me one. And then I was like, well, why do I need one? Like, my car takes me wherever I need to go. It was that kind of thing. My husband used to call me a black Jew. He used to say, you're a black Jew, which is funny because had he met me, Carolyn, when I was younger, before I had my daughter, I loved to shop. I was a shopaholic for real. And I remember my brother and I are 1 year apart. And he's always been like the really financial. He was just like my mom. I was always entrepreneurial. He was just like my mom. He was very like, I don't want to say rigid because he's not rigid because he loves to spend money. But he was more, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I like shopping, right? And I would spend all mine. He would spend his. I would spend all mine on clothes and shoes. He likes to shop just as much as I do. And he likes more expensive things than I do too. But he would only, and so, but as I got older, after I had my daughter, all of that, I mean, when I tell you stopped, I had my daughter, I became used to do shopping and all, completely stopped. So by the time I met my husband, he called me a black Jew because I wouldn't spend money on anything. And I still really don't. I still don't spend money. But had he met me, you know, had you met me before that, before the baby in the business, oh yeah, I love to shop. I love to party. And I got both of those and like the brakes just stopped right there. So I understand when you say change your mindset, make a commitment to change. That's important. Also, assess where you are. That's extremely important. And then understanding what these terms mean. That's so excited to be relaunching Wise Women Invest because I think a lot of people need to understand when they hear stocks, they get totally confused. They think it's over their heads. They think it's nothing. And I gotta tell you, like, I have a lot of cryptocurrency stocks. I have no idea what they do, y'all. I ain't gonna even lie. All I know is I like. I go and I look at my crypto accounts. I'm like, that looks great, and I put more money in them. That's what I can tell y'all. And so Carol and I are gonna be demystifying all of these terms, understand what they mean. So we talked about, changing the mindset and assessing where you are. What are some of the other things they need to start thinking about right now? Because they're going to shop in a minute, Carolyn. And I don't know if they need to be on a budget because it's holiday time. And, people like to shop right now. So
it is, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about as well, is establishing a budget. But before I get there, when we talk about assessing where you are, we'll talk later going more into in-depth information about your credit and clearing your credit and all of that as we move forward with further episodes of Wise Women Invest. But every person, if they have not already, needs to get a copy of their credit report. They need to have a copy of their credit report. So when we get there, they already have it with them. But get a copy of your credit report so you know what's on there. And it's free. You go to annualcreditreport.com, get your credit report from all three of the major credit bureaus to make sure that you actually see what's on there. Because that's a part of financial literacy, Audrey, is knowing not only what you physically have in your home, but knowing what the world is saying you have. Because some people have found that there's stuff on their report that's not even theirs. They don't even know what it is, or it's something that should have been cleared up a long, long time ago. Okay, so you want to make sure that we actually help people look at that. And then when we talk about the holiday, as we're getting closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas, it is so important that we as females and women, that we do a budget. And what a budget does, it actually tells you what you have that's discretionary that you can spend. A lot of times people get all giddy and excited about the holiday and start spending dollars that are not budgeted, that really are allocated someplace else, but we spend that money and then we're like, oh, okay, I've got a mortgage coming up. I've got a car note coming up. I've got this going on. And then you feel stressed because you really decrease the amount of space that you have because you've gone over and spent more money than you have allocated. And that goes back to making sure you understand what your wants are and what your needs are. I always assess what I'm buying when I'm shopping, especially when the holiday comes and you're looking for gifts for people. Do you need to buy the most expensive thing? Is it a loved one that you're really buying this gift for, or what's the motive behind the gift? Because that's always important as well. Because a lot of times we spend money that we regret. I have females that I counsel all the time that says, I bought him this, but I want to buy him this as well. I said, okay, so what are you trying to tell him? That you want to spend money on him, or that you value him? Because the cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So if there's value in your relationship, do you really need to make that non-budgeted purchase to make somebody feel better? So as we approach the holidays, we need to make sure that we are setting a budget and sticking to that budget, not just for shopping, but for our entire household as well.
That's so. Say that again. You said the cost is only what did you say about that?
Cost is only an issue in the absence of value.
Ooh, that's a good one. That sounds like that's a tweet. Look, I feel like Oprah. That's a tweetable moment. And that's definitely good though, because and another thing I want to talk about is tracking your spending. Every night before I go to bed, I do two things. I track what I ate. My Fitbit right now, I think I'm at 700 and something days of tracking what I eat. I track what I've eaten for the day, and my steps, and my money. Those are the three things I track every night. So right around 11:45 every night, I go on in, I track my food, I track my steps, my money. And so I go and I look at the accounts and I said, you know what, let me see what's where, let me see where I am. Because sometimes, in my business side, I may have purchase a new domain name or something, because I'm good for buying domain names. I'm horrible, y'all. I got like 247 domain names. I'm horrible. It's like, it's sad. Sad but true,
Wow.
Carolyn. Sad but true. I'm so bad. GoDaddy called me one time. That's like, you need to get a membership. And I was like, for what? They said, we have a membership in the domain, GoDaddy domain club, because I own so many domain names. And so I
Wow.
will go on when I have a good idea about something, I'll go on and buy a domain. And I don't buy one, I buy like the .com, .net, .co,
Well,
like wisewomeninvest.co. So I buy them all. And because they need to point to all these different places that my information is at. So I may buy a domain or something throughout the day, and I haven't thought about it until like that night. It's like, wait a minute, I bought something. Let me go track it. And I track it. And so to me, tracking is very, very important because it allows me. I remember a few days ago, Bank of America sent me something in the mail. So my uncle said to me, he said, is that like an overdraft statement? I said, oh, no. I don't do no overdraft statements. And it was like something where I had trained recently moved, so I changed my address. And I was like, no, I don't do overdraft. Like, that's not my thing. And so he's like, oh, I said, no, that's the address confirmation change. But I track because I don't want those things to happen. So I look at my business account, and I have to. I look at both of them because different things pull from different ones. And I want to make sure straight. So I track everything. I became a fanatic like later on in life. You know, I told you before, when I was younger, it didn't matter. In life, it matters. And even more so now at the age I am right now, Carolyn, because a lot of women feel like at my age it's too late. And that's another thing I want to talk about on it as we move forward in episodes, is to start setting these putting these strategies in place and these accounts in place. Is it too late for women my age and above?
It is never too late. And I am so glad to hear you say that you track. That I'm going to applaud you because that is awesome. That is one of the things that we as women have to do because it allows us to really budget better and to see where our money is going. I have a young lady, a recent young lady that I worked with. She earns $110,000 a year. She called me because she was having some issues. She said, I don't understand. I'm making good money, but I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And so we did a budget for her. We did an analysis. We did an assessment of where all of her dollars were based on what she told me she was spending. So I said, okay, based on the bills that you have, the income you have coming in, I see that you have an excess of $2,000 a month. No, it was $19.98. So really $1,998. So why are you living paycheck to pay? Where's that $1,900 going? Well, let's say 2,000 was 1990. She said, I don't know. I said, okay. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to take 3 months of bank statements, get an Excel spreadsheet, and write out every single thing you spent money on. Every single thing. Every time you spend money, I want you to write what it was for and what you did. And I said, we're going to find that money. So tracking it really helps you see what your habits are. It helps you see if you are spending money based on what you want and not what you need. You know, it's helping you to see exactly where those, I say, dollars and pennies. It turned out that she was spending a lot of money eating out, that she was shopping on Amazon for a lot of different things. The packages were coming and just a lot of knickknacks, a lot of things that she didn't necessarily need, Audrey, but she saw them on Amazon and said, oh, this will be good. And then she was doing things for her daughter as well. But when she called me back, I said, as soon as you finish it, give me a call. She called me back and literally she was in tears. She was in tears. She said, wow, I cannot believe I've been spending money like this. And I said, how is that normal for you? She said, this is what I've been doing all the time. And I said, okay. So now we know what's going on. We know you haven't been tracking. We know where you're spending money. And so not only was she eating out, but she was also going to the grocery store and shopping every week. And so then she would have to go through her pantry and throw out food that has expired because she didn't eat it. So a lot of those things, that's kind of a wild example for some people, because there may be women on this broadcast that say, well, that's not me. Well, there's a lot of people that are like that. They're not tracking where they're spending the dollars. And when they track, they're going to find that extra 25 or 50 or 100 or $150 that they can switch over to buying stock, cryptocurrency, and some of the other things that we're going to share with them later on. But that tracking really helps them to see that. And the sooner you start, now she is not a youngster, she's like 45. So the sooner you start, the easier it will be as you get older. And then if you haven't started, it's a great time to start that assessment now. So in my client that I saw today, that with that bag, she's like 60. So when I talk with people from millennials all the way up the spectrum, everybody has money issues. And it's when we do that assessment, make this decision to change, look at where we're spending our money, budget, and then make sure we know exactly what's being reported on us. All of those, and there's so many more. We've only just tapped the surface. So I know for sure that everyone is going to get some great information from these broadcasts, Audrey. But literally, she really got to a point now where she's like, oh my God, I know I have to change, and I'm going to change, because she took the time to do the work. You've got to do the work. It's not going to just happen because we hope it will. We got to do the work as well.
Carolyn, I was the same way. I was spending a lot of money and I couldn't see where it was going. You would never believe where my money was going. It was going in magazines. Like I love magazines. I love magazines. I've always loved magazines. I tried to publish before. I love magazines. And so you know how some people like coffee, some people like cake, some people like cigarettes. I like magazines and domain names. So that's where my money was going. And so when I did exactly what you said, because I was a part of a group called the Queens of Finance, and we would meet monthly every month. And my good friend Lori Goodman ran that group, and we would meet up in Rockdale County once a month to talk about our finances. And she gave everybody a journal to track. Like, I want you to track for the whole month. And when I literally went down that line, because I lived at Barnes and Noble. Like, Barnes and Noble is one of my favorite places to go. And I would go there, spend hours reading magazines, right? And then I'd take a whole handful and buy them weekly. When I looked at that money, I had so much extra money going into magazines. It was unbelievable. And I could not believe it. I remember buying a magazine one time. I want to say the magazine was like $14.99. It was called We Create. And I'm thinking, because I want to be creative. So I was like, I'm gonna buy this. That magazine, one magazine was like $14.99. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is crazy. So what I did was, I still love magazines, but what I did was I started getting subscriptions, which is a lot cheaper, because one issue, is $6 versus a subscription for $13-14 for the year. So I was spending way too much money on magazines. That was one of my weaknesses. Domain names, of course, is one of my weaknesses, but I get to write the domain names off, because at the end of the year, I go to GoDaddy and they give me a printout like this, how much money you done spent this year. So I get to write that stuff off. But magazines, I didn't write them off. It was just like my guilty pleasure. And so you're right. When you start to track all that stuff, you'll be surprised. Like, I love gum. I used to chew gum a lot. And I was like, I can't believe I spent this much. When you start to track things, because you think it's so tiny, but you have to count every penny, right? I was like, exactly. I can't believe I spent $10 on gum a month. $10 on gum. It was crazy. It was crazy little things like that. $45 on magazines. It was crazy. Because I would go there and I want to read this magazine. I walk out of Barnes and Noble like 5-10 magazines, and after I have read 5 or 10 magazines for the day.
Wow.
And that was my Sunday. That's my Sunday way to like just relax and calm down. I'm going to Barnes and Noble on Sunday, and that's what I would do. So I started to look at all those things like, oh my God, like I spend a lot of money in certain places. Now I'm guilty. I used to eat out a lot too. I was one of those people that I like to eat out because I don't cook. My husband cooks. But I'll sneak out to lunch and, my friends and, like spend $30, $40 and like, he doesn't know. So he's probably watching going, okay, that explains some things. But a lot of money eating out, and he cooks, but here lately we haven't been doing a lot of either. Not a lot of eating out and not a whole lot of cooking because I feel like we ran out of stuff to eat. Actually, it's like crazy. But so I'm excited about where we're going to be going here. I think that women are going to learn a lot from this show. They get to ask the hard questions. There is a way for them to chat with us. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, if you go to the comment section, I can see your comments. We pop them up on the screen, and we can answer your comments there. Carolyn and I will be answering questions. That financial analysis. If you want to get that financial analysis, go to wisewomaninvest.co. It's a free service that we offer. It gives you the opportunity to get a snapshot of where you are, so you can know where you want to go and how to get there. I'm excited about that. So, I know it's that time of year. Everybody wants to shop, right? But you need to think about some things for a second. To think about. I remember Carolyn. I don't know. I read a story about this little old lady. I want to say she made something like $20,000 a year, and she never had a car. She never had a credit card. She had none of those things. She had a house, and she had lights, gas, and water, and she was able to go grocery shopping. Well, when she died, she was a millionaire off of $20,000 a year. And people were like, how the heck did she do that? Well, she did that. Now, I know some of us don't want to make the sacrifices. I know, I get it. I used to be one of them. But you got to ask yourself, is the way you living right now the way you want to continue to live? That's a good question. Good question. Are you? That's why Carolyn and I are here. We're going to be here every Wednesday at 7:00. We're going to be talking to you about where you want to go. And so, Carolyn, you want to fill them in on some of the things they're going to learn when they drop in on us on 7:00 on Wednesdays.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to learn so much. And we have even more to discuss about the financial literacy as the months go on. They're going to learn how to invest. They're going to learn in detail about the rule of 72. They're going to learn about the stock market. They're going to learn about bonds and how they work. They're going to learn how to make sure that your budget is working for you. They're going to learn how to look at your credit report and improve your credit. We're going to give some tips on that as well. They're going to learn how to identify where they can save money, put budget together. So we're going to talk about college funds. We're going to talk about ways to make sure you're on track for retirement. And there's the library is open. There are just so many topics that we're going to be able to discuss so that people can look at themselves and say, okay, I feel more comfortable where I am now, where I'm going. I see from this assessment that this is the roadmap that I need to lay out for myself. And we're going to help you put that car on the road and keep it there financially.
I can tell you, Carolyn and I have a meeting on Monday with a client of mine, and she has she has a new business. But one of the things I was telling her, and this is for small business owners, I went to Carolyn and I said, listen, my client needs a benefit package for her employees. What can we put together so she can provide value to her employees and entice them to come on board with her? Because the competition for her company is so stiff, right? She has, competitors on the left, competitors on the right, in the front, in the back. So she has to compete with a lot of competitors to get the best people to come work for her company. And we put together a pretty cool benefit package that she can offer her potential hires. And so as a small business, there's ways for you to leverage all these things that we're talking about, not just in your personal life, but also in your business life. And so we're going to talk about all of that. So just know that this show is not you try to sell you anything. Carol and I both in financial services. We're both business owners. We both help a lot of people every day. And I love podcasting. So if y'all don't think podcasting, listen to me 4 days a week live on Good Morning Gwinnett. Yes, I go live 4 days a week talking to the people about people and places around Gwinnett County. And what better way to reach people and help them change their financial future than to leverage this platform right here. This show is streamed live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on Roku. So if you got a Roku device, go to Noise Media Network, add that to your Roku device, and watch Carol and I next Wednesday on your television. You ain't even got to get out the bed. Just get a pen, paper, lay in the bed, and watch us on your Roku. Whether you got a Roku TV or a Roku streaming stick or a Roku box, you can watch us. And so that's what we're doing here. We're making sure that we help families and women. Because listen, when you empower a woman, you empower a community. We know that. That's not just a cliche. That's the truth. That's the truth. So, Carolyn, I want to thank you for being my co-host tonight. I know that you have another meeting, and I don't want to keep you, so I really appreciate you. But listen, y'all, this was short. Don't think next week is going to be this short, because we got some teaching tools to provide to you. So make sure next week, get your pen and paper. Set aside an hour to spend with Carolyn. Now we're gonna walk you through some things. Carolyn is a real estate investor, so she's gonna help me learn how to invest in real estate. So she's a stock market investor, mutual fund, bonds, and do you do crypto?
A little bit.
Okay. So I'm a crypto, and she's a little bit of crypto, but she's also a real estate investor. So I'm interested in learning how to invest in land. And I was talking to a guy today, Carolyn. He told me, he said, we have 148 acres right here. He told me about a town right before you get to Macon, Georgia. He said they got 148 acres of land on one side of the street, and on the other side they got 100 acres. And I was like, well, what are you going to do with all the land? He's like, right now we just go hunting on it. I'm like, hunting? He's like, that's all we do. So in my mind, I'm thinking you need to break that land up and sell off some acres or something. We need to put some developments on that land, but he didn't seem to be in, he's like, we go hunting. So he called his hunting buddies, and he's like, so I think I'm going to take my crossbow too. I'm like, really? Like,
yeah, it's a big thing. It's really big. You have to climb to hunt, and it's a big deal for them.
A big deal. So they want to reserve that 248 acres total for hunting. So I was like, okay, I mean, what can I say? But I'm so glad that you joined us tonight, and forward to talking to you again next Wednesday at 7 a.m. And listen, guys, make sure to tune in. If you need to get that free financial assessment, go to wisewomaninvest.co. There's a tab on that page that says free financial assessment. Fill out the information there. Either Carolyn or myself will get back in contact, help you get everything situated so you can get the roadmap to figure out where you are right now, what you need to do to get to where you want to go. All right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Carolyn. Thank you. I'll be back. We'll be back again next Wednesday, y'all. So listen, y'all stay safe out there. And until next time, my good friends, make it a great day. Bye now.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Wise Women Invest podcast. Tune in daily at 6 p.m. for a new investment tip to help you make smart money moves. To learn more about Wise Women Invest and to join our community and investment club, go to www.wisewomeninvest.club. To never miss an episode of the podcast, download the Wise Women Invest app from the App Store and be sure to share the show with another wise woman. Again, our website is www.wisewomeninvest.club.